The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
All right, so many are saying that Rick Tocchet should be the favorite for the Jack Adams right now, but hey, nobody's perfect. And you know what? There was a couple weird things that happened in terms of Tocchet's decisions on Saturday night. What were those weird things? We're going to tell you about it next here on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer, and your co-host here of Locked On Canucks. Before we dive into the episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It is your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you go subscribe or follow us for free if you haven't done so already. Coming up on today's show, Kyle and I want to talk about some of the decisions made by Rick Tocchet on Saturday night, and just in general over the past few games, some of the decisions he's been making in terms of lineup, in terms of personnel, in terms of who he's putting on the ice, and when, some of those finer details that I know you, tuning into Locked On Canucks, you're hungry for, okay? Also going to touch on our GOATs of the week in our Canucks weekly power rankings in segment 2. And then finally, in the third segment, we're going to talk about a pretty prominent Canucks prospect being snubbed from the World Juniors. Man, not even making the preliminary roster. Come on, man. But before we get to any of that, I'm going to introduce my co-host, someone who should never be snubbed, man, because he's a beauty. Kyle Ballad. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. You know the deal. My Packers picked up a huge, improbable win against the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel, again, fantastic. I feel unbeatable. For real. My name Kyle Ballad. That right there, Trevor Beggs. This right here, the program that gives you the West Coast bias, right? Your Canucks every day. And yo, correct me if I'm wrong, man. I don't know if I'm just being logical, if I'm being dark and pessimistic and digging deep into everything Vancouver Canucks, because I don't know if I'm criticizing Rick Tocchet, but I'm definitely questioning some of the logic on Saturday night. And overall, I think it's a way for us to open the door and just talk everything Rick Tocchet, his philosophy, his mannerisms, his way of coaching, and what he's done for the Vancouver Canucks. And he's a big reason why this whole thing has turned around. And just overall, an actually interesting head coach. You can agree on this. He is different than 90% of the other coaches in the league. And I'm not just talking about the name or like his pedigree. I'm talking about his style, his personality. He's actually brings something different to the NHL, correct?
Oh, 100% he does. And I think what makes Tocchet such a valuable resource is he's a rare blend of a really good player who could actually be a really good coach. I think that's rare in today's NHL. And B, he was a guy who both excelled on like the toughness, defensive aspect of the game, while also being a legitimate scorer. So there's just a lot of elements to Rick Tocchet that that he brings to the table as a head coach. And I think a lot of other teams don't have. And obviously he's got the experience being both the head coach in different stints, being an assistant coach on teams that won the Stanley Cup. The guy's got a great resume. And I think, maybe we should have been more excited about the signing at the time. Although I think both you and I, again, we weren't hosting Locked On Canucks quite at that point when Tocchet got hired in January of this year. But I think we both liked the signing. I think a lot of fans liked the addition of Tocchet. It was just the timing. I think it was more of a timing thing.
No, you're right. It was the timing thing. And for me, when we made the decision to get Rick Tocchet, and overall, we picked Rick Tocchet over Connor Bedard. That's just the truth. It's just the truth. The homie Ricky said that. Shout out to Don't Doze, and it's the truth, okay? And with it came a coach's bump. And it made me just, again, question the logic from Aquilini, because it's like, you want the coach's bump from a dude who was just working as an analyst? Like, why not? Like, if you're going to make a move like this, a drastic move like this, that's going to change, like, don't you want to hire someone that's more of a guarantee? Because I still think there was a bit of a big question mark around this guy actually being the guy. Maybe that stemmed from a lot of pessimism, but just overall, again, did his thing as an assistant coach on a stacked team. And when he was a head coach for Tampa Bay and Arizona, it wasn't that great. So there was a right to be a little or more than concerned.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, we're almost a year into this now, and I don't think anyone's questioning that hire. Although I think it's fair to question some of the decision-making that Tocchet's made. And Kyle, I know you touched on it briefly during your post-game episode with the Calgary Flames. the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night, a 4-3 win for your Vancouver Canucks. And it was the fact that, late in the game there, Zadorov and Myers got a couple shifts before Hughes saw the ice. Really, every defense, like Quinn Hughes was the first defenseman to be done for the game, theoretically speaking, right? A few minutes left, Zadorov and Myers are out there when they get the empty net goal. And then it's Cole and Juleson out there. Juleson takes a penalty. Then it's Zadorov and Myers back out again, gets scored on at 4-3. And then Cole and Hronek finish up the game. So, it feels like it was an interesting choice to kind of leave Hughes and Hronek staple to the bench. And why do you think that was, Kyle?
I think it was because the Canucks were kind of slipping in the last 7 minutes. Hronek and Hughes weren't perfect. And it was pretty clear that Tocchet was trying to send a message. But I think it's too late in the game to send a message when you're dealing with your decor, and that message is being sent to Hughes and Hronek. It's late in the game. Relax. Talk to them after the game, because the people you want to replace them with and those key minutes with don't got it. They don't got it. Myers don't got it. He can't handle the heat. I think we've kind of known that this whole time. Pressure and Tyler Myers is weird. It's a weird combination. And if messages are going to be sent, which is cool, you got to do your thing. Don't just do it with the stars. Do it with the anchors. And I don't know what his stats are looking like now. I feel as if some of the fancy stats actually favored Noah Juleson, but man, oh man, the eye test is egregious, man. It's like, this guy is good for a turnover almost every second shift. And again, if you're going to send messages, do it to your star guys. You've done it to Miller. You've done it to Hughes. In a key game, it's Hockey Night in Canada. The Canucks have been swimming in mediocrity for what seems like 12 days, 13 days. They need a win. I don't know if that was the right time to send a message. And because you did, I feel as if you almost sacrificed a win. It got scary, man. It got scary for me. And I don't know if that's the right time to be teaching. Tocchet, go ahead and teach lessons. Do your thing. I'm not the head coach. Look at what you've done for this organization. It was the smartest thing to do is hire you back in January, so we had a runway to implement the right things, the right standard, start a new culture. Yeah. But I don't know if 7 minutes, 5 minutes left in the game is the good time to send a lesson or teach a lesson. Just focus on winning the game. And it's harder to win the game when you're relying on Tyler Myers, Noah Juleson, and Nikita Zadorov. I just thought that was really odd. Really odd.
Yeah, and you look at the ice time, and Tyler Myers actually finished with more ice time than Filip Hronek. He was the second most played defenseman. It was both Hughes and Myers were the only defensemen to cross the 22-minute mark in that game. I actually found the love for Zadorov and Myers a bit strange in that game in general. Not to say that they played a bad game. Underlying numbers were in their favor. Canucks were controlling possession with them on the ice. They were. Yeah, right. They weren't bad. But yeah, you look at Ian Cole. Ian Cole actually had less ice time than Zadorov, and Cole has averaged over 22 minutes a game this season. Then you have Hughes and Hronek play a little bit less, and I think that's what the Canucks want to get to, is spreading the ice time out more evenly among these three defensemen. Was it the right call to do it in this game? You could argue it wasn't. I feel like it almost cost the team the game.
It almost did.
Another thing I want to touch on quick too is Noah Juleson. I think I wish we were more optimistic about this guy. I mean, he's born in Surrey, right? We're Surrey boys. We should be nicer to Noah Juleson from that regard. But I think, Kyle, you and I are just calling it like we see it. And I think the coaching staff likes the whole sacrificing his body for the team, the shot blocking. Juleson is willing to put it out all on the line. But he just the processing, the skating just can't keep up in today's game, it seems. And it just seems like Mark Freeman is a much better option than Noah Juleson out there.
Oh, yeah. Noah Juleson's going to cost them games.
A bit puzzling.
Sorry. Finish your point.
I was going to say, I did find it a bit puzzling as well that, Hughes and Hronek, ice time dipped. I think they're on the ice for Lindholm's 3-2 goal against. They did have some turnovers as well. So I think it was a situation where we've seen it before, Rick Tocchet kind of benched JT Miller for taking bad penalties. I think it was a bit of, I don't care who you are and how well you're playing. If you make a mistake, you're going to pay for it. So I do think he's just trying to implement that. What's the word I'm looking for? I forget the word.
That's okay. But we all forget.
Trying to make guys be accountable for their actions.
And I understand that. I understand that clearly. I just think, A, if you're going to do that, then do that with Juleson, because I don't know what you're seeing. And B, try not to do it with a couple minutes left in the game. For real. And in a game where your goaltending is looking kind of odd as well. Again, I'm poking the needle too much. We won the game. I'm happy we won the game. But I'm in the motion of try to make it easier for yourself, and don't be out there teaching lessons. Like, it's not a preseason game. Kind of weird, man. Kind of weird. I think Tocchet learned from it too. Trust me. I think he got humbled. I'm kind of happy we got scored on right there. And Myers was back on the, like, why are you putting Myers on the ice so much in crucial moments? Like, it's, again, like, I think in front of the net, he's not great. He's big, he's strong, but he's far from great in front of the net. We've seen it this whole time. It's just the truth. And you brought up Ian Cole, and I want to bring up one good thing after this Ian Cole rant about how the minutes were dispersed. Because at the end of the day, they got to be, right? You got to ease up the load on Hughes and Hronek when you can, right? It's going to make the most sense in April and May when you really got to use them, blah, blah, blah. But the whole Ian Cole thing, like, he hasn't looked that sharp. But this guy's nervous. Why is he nervous? Because he's playing with Noah Juulsen. No, straight up. And Ian Cole, any NHL analyst, media personality, podcaster, wannabe will tell you, like, he's not the guy that's going to prop up a deep pairing. He's best suited and perfect in his own way when the other guy's way better than him. And right now, I guarantee every time Ian Cole steps on the ice, he's nervous because he has to do a little bit more. And when you're overthinking just slightly in life, you're not yourself. And it's hard not to overthink when Noah Juulsen's your guy. And, we've been roasting Noah Juulsen for a while, but we've also said, go find your game. Go find your confidence. Because making mistakes in the NHL is highly likely when you're in your head. And if you're doing that, it's going to be hard to grip onto any sort of momentum for yourself. Just the truth.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, in general, I think we're excited about the upgrades made to the Canucks blue line. We want the ice time to be dispersed more, but it's an imperfect situation right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. And I know you talked about Myers, and again, it was a weird week for him in general. Spoiler alert: he did not make it on the Canucks GOATs of the week. I think he didn't have a great game against Vegas earlier. Weird week for the Canucks in general. With kind of getting outplayed a bit against Anaheim, despite limiting chances, and then getting walloped by Beggs before responding in Calgary. At the end of the day, though, the Canucks finished the month of November, again, before that Calgary game, with the 9-6 record. So not as hot as they were in October, but, again, good teams find a way to win games, even when they're not playing their best, and the Canucks, I think, managed to do so on a number of occasions last month. But go back to last week, I am going to tell you the Canucks GOATs of the week in our Canucks weekly power rankings on the other side. Before I do that, I got to let you know that a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Nils Höglander could score 50 goals. The Canucks could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL network. Sleeper is my number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you could win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Nils Höglander, Ian Cole, or Nikita Zadorov will record more or less of their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canucks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
Okay, you're back on Locked On Canucks. My name Kyle Ballad. That right there is Trevor Beggs, and this is the home for the West Coast bias. Hey, speaking of the bias, man, was that a negative start to the show? I'm not really trying to do this, man. I'm not trying to overanalyze too much. I'm getting into my feelings. Wins matter to me. I think I'm just emotionally scarred from the reality that didn't happen, and that's us blowing that lead on Saturday. And I think when there was a minute left in the game or 45 seconds left in the game, I kind of lived in that, again, alternate reality, and we already lost the game, and I'm kind of taking it out on Tocchet, even though none of that stuff happened. All in all, I'm going to ask you a question just to, lay out some positivity before you get to your goats of the week. What have you loved about Tocchet? And overall, talk about his last 11 months here, whatever it's been. Again, choosing Rick Tocchet over Connor Bedard, I think I would do it again. Straight up, I would do it again.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we chose Rick Tocchet over a chance at getting Connor Bedard and a slim chance at that. I mean, we know now that Connor Bedard went to the third worst team in the league, and I think at worst, we talked about it like last March and April. At worst, the Canucks probably would have been the fifth worst team in the league. So you could have gotten a good player for sure, but you weren't getting Bedard, Carlson, or Fantilli. Could have had Zach Benson, but that's another story.
I'm thinking
I think
philosophy-wise, it was like the decision, the philosophy-wise, it was like, you know what? We're not going to tank. We're not going to tank. We're not going to bring that last place energy into next season because we want next season to matter. And the only way that's going to happen is if we get a 6-month head start. That's what they chose.
I think revisionist history is everything, but at the time, I think a lot of Canucks fans were just like, "Why didn't you tank for Bedard?" And I think mostly we felt the same way.
Of
Like,
course.
how cool the story would that have been? Connor Bedard, chance of bringing home the generational phenom to his hometown team. Alas, didn't happen. And yeah, again, I think the Canucks made the right decision by hiring Tocchet. And I think the thing I've liked most about Tocchet, I mentioned off the top, the accountability. Just like it doesn't matter who you are in the lineup, keeping guys accountable, even if they're playing well and they make a mistake, right? Like you said, Kyle, maybe there could be a bit more accountability in terms of keeping things really even. Like I think Höglander deserves more ice time. He was again the team low in ice time in a game that featured Linus Karlsson and Nils Amon. Talent Myers is probably getting too much ice time, so there's things to nitpick at. But in general, I think he has his team playing the right way. And I would say actually one of the things I like most about this current Canucks team is the fact that they're limiting those high danger chances. Like that was an area last season where like they might still be losing the shot battle right now, but there really has been a noticeable effort to limit the high danger chances against. And I don't want to say the Canucks are perfect. They're still about kind of middle of the league in terms of high danger chances against. But compared to last season, when they were pretty much the most permissive team in the league, it's a big, big change. And I think, again, when you have an offense as deadly as the Canucks offense is, just to be league average in terms of limiting those high danger chances is big.
That's a beautiful answer because it's such a hockey answer, not a philosophical answer. No, it's the truth because I'm coming at it being emotional with Tocchet and his philosophies and the lessons he's trying to teach. But at the end of the day, I can't be second guessing his tactical approach to the game because you're right, man. I think the Canucks haven't produced a lot of offense over the last like 10 games when it comes to like shots on goal. I'm sure. I think the Canucks are like bottom 3 on shots on goal this season, if I'm correct. That being said, we can't ignore the fact that you're right. Even when they're allowing a lot of shots on goal, the goalies aren't like having to be spectacular, and that's like a huge difference. So shout out to Tocchet,
100%. I know I had it in front of me for the month of November in terms of shots. So this isn't for the whole year, but looking at shots for November, I mean the Canucks were 21st in the league in terms of shots on goal for the month of November, and I feel like for the whole season, it's probably pretty similar to be honest. Again, how much have we talked about the Canucks being kind of lucky? Yeah. So far this season, the Canucks ranked 27th in shots on goal per game at 28.9.
Yeah.
But the clinical finishers, right? So how much does that really matter? Come on, man.
Anywho, we'll get more analytical on another episode. Let's go talk about who impressed you last week. On this segment, it's really become my favorite segment of the show, Goats of the Week.
Hey, Kyle, we're replacing Comment Corners, your favorite segment, eh? Holy.
Oh, don't worry about Comment Corner. It's coming back strong, dude. I figured something out. Like I said, 2024 around the corner. Don't worry. Go ahead, Beggsy.
Yeah, because the commenters are still there, man. But anyway, so I'll rip through this quick because I know we're already getting up to that half hour mark, man. Yeah. Geez, got to keep the bosses happy here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Here on Locked On Canucks, your team every day. I have a new number one, a guy who is yet to be number one. He actually only has 2 points on the season, which means he has one fourth place finish in our weekly power rankings. But I have Ilya Mikheyev as the Canuck GOAT for this week. Honestly, I think Mikheyev might have played his best game of his Canucks career against the Flames on Saturday. I mean, I find it fascinating that, going to the season, we're thinking like Pettersson, Kuzmenko, like this is the duo that's not going to be split up. It's been Pettersson, Mikheyev that's been the duo that's not been split up since they came back into the lineup. And, Mikheyev, again, he's been on the ice for, I think it was 3 goals, 40 even strength, 0 goals against. I think that he's showcasing that speed that we haven't seen in a long time. I honestly would probably like to see more of Mikheyev on the penalty kill at this point.
Yeah.
I know he's gotten a bit of PP2 time this season, but he's really just a kind of a depth penalty killer, not playing that much on the kill. But the speed's there, the hockey awareness is there, and he's finding ways to score as well. Like, 8 goals now in the season? On pace for, almost 30 goals. I think about 25 goals right now. So awesome start for Mikheyev so far. And number 2, I think this guy's back, or at least he looks like he might be back this week, and it's Elias Pettersson. Now, don't have a number 1 on the list, but you saw this week that the creativity started to bounce back a bit. Obviously, great goal against the Anaheim Ducks on that wraparound tally. I thought he was doing a great job in Calgary, making space for himself to create some chances. I actually thought he had some moments in that Vegas game as well. So, Elias Pettersson, I think he'd really fallen in these rankings for the month of November. It wasn't his best month, but nothing flashy, but 2 goals, 3 points this week. I thought it was a pretty good week for Pettersson. I'll rip off 3 and 4 quickly and see if you have any thoughts. But I have 3. Thatcher Demko, he played all 3 games for the Canucks this week. 9-14 save percentage. I think the Vegas game dragged him down a bit. But he gave the team a chance to win every game. What more could he ask for? And then finally, I have Sam Lafferty, the 3rd member of this weird Canucks first line, at number 4 on the list. He's making his 2nd appearance on the Canucks weekly power rankings. 6 goals and 12 points. Suck that, Toronto.
Holy, picking Ryan Reeves over him, eh? It is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. The thing with me and Thatcher Demko right now, I feel as if he can be a lot better. I think the expectation's super high from him, and I think not bringing that 93, 94 overall level of play in between stretches of 5 or 6 starts or whatever. It's kind of, you want more from him consistently, IMO. IMO. But maybe, since the Canucks have strengthened their defensive structure in general, it's harder for Demko to warm up to situations or just be on it. Because again, I think it was a beautiful goal, play by Lindholm, the patience on that goal he scored. I think it was his first goal of the game, but Demko just kind of looked bored and lost and was trying to make something happen when I feel as if he just took himself completely out of position. I don't know if I'd have him number 3. All in all, though, Mikheyev, man, super impressive. I think it's untapped when it comes to us understanding the level of hockey player he is. And I think we're about to see it this month because you're right. Saturday, he looked faster than ever, and maybe he's getting warmed up for, again, something excellent. And our penalty kill, it needs Mikheyev. In fact, I feel as if our penalty kill doesn't get talked about enough. I don't know if it's because I'm hesitant on being super negative. I know we just spent a couple minutes talking about some of the questionable decisions with Tocchet, but how can we not say there's another one in his dealing with the penalty kill? There hasn't been much change when it comes to the result and the personnel, and I feel as if it's that time now to get Mikheyev involved more.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think the penalty kill has been a back burner issue. I've been thinking about it as both an episode idea and an article idea for Daily Hive. Because it seems like the goaltending is actually propping up the penalty kill a bit more than people realize right now.
Oh, dude!
So we'll table that one.
You know what they got to do though? IMO is take Myers off the penalty kill and see what happens.
Yeah, but they seem to love Myers right now, unfortunately.
Dude, especially on the penalty kill.
You know what?
Makes no sense.
I'm covering the game on Thursday. I'll go ask Tocchet about that.
Thank you. Thank you. No problem. If Juleson plays 2 more games this week and he commits 5 turnovers within these 2 games, you got to ask Tocchet. I'm curious to know what you see in Noah Juleson. Just and wear a helmet though, just in case,
Sounds good, bud. Let's wrap up the list before we get to the final segment here on Locked On Canucks. My 5th go to the week is Brock Besser. He actually led the team in points this week. 2 goals, 4 points in 3 games. Both of those goals coming against the Anaheim Ducks. I thought it was another solid week for Besser overall. I just don't know if he stood out enough. Again, it was the Canucks first line and Demko who were the guys that really stood out for me this week. I think Hughes and Hronek obviously have their moments, but they had some mistakes this week as well. So in general, this is actually this might be the first week all season that the list hasn't had either Miller or Hughes on it. And I'll just kind of list off the top 5 in the weekly rankings right now, or the yearly rankings, I should say. So Hughes is in first with 19 points. Again, the way we score it, 5 points for first, 1 point for fifth throughout the week. So Hughes is 19 points, Miller's 18 points, Demko up to 14 points in third. Pettersson, who had fallen down to 6, now jumps back up into 4th with 11 points. And Hronek and Nils Höglander are tied for 5th with 8 points on the season.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember back in the day, the Canucks used to do the same thing, right? With their 3 stars, and it was like a point system, and they'd hand it
Yeah.
out like an award at the end of the season. Wow, Beggsy, you're doing it, man. Bringing that back. Yo, I love
Yeah,
Brock.
but I think for that one, sorry to cut you off. I was
That's
reading on
okay.
the Canucks website recently that I think they just hand out 5 points if you're a star. It doesn't
Okay.
matter whether you're first, third, or second. So that, to me,
Okay, yeah.
that system could use some improvement.
Anyways, Brock Besser, IMO, the most improved Vancouver Canuck this year. And that's saying a lot because Quinn Hughes and JT Miller have done exceptional things with their game overall. But I feel as if we're not talking about Brock Besser's two-way game enough. We're not talking about how he looks more aggressive than ever along the boards on the forecheck. There's a level of tenacity to him. He looks free out there, and I'm super, super impressed by the fact that he, again, has elevated his game to another level. I'm surprised that you didn't bring up Filip Hronek, 3 assists on Saturday. He's been our most consistent defenseman as well all season long, and I'm just, well, again, Tocchet over Bedard, and because of that, it led us to Filip Hronek as well. I'm telling you, man, who's going to win more Stanley Cups? Let us know in the comments below. Starting now, Rick Tocchet or Connor Bedard, because that's overall going to tell us who won that decision. It's the truth. Locked On Canucks. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs. We're going to get to break, and on the other side, Beggsy's going to go on a long rant, and he's going to hate on America. Dude, don't be racist, man. You better watch out, man.
All right. Before we get to Beggsy's ballad, I gotta say, when you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could do the same thing with your business team? If you're building a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for the candidates with the right skills when you could do it all on Indeed. Do you hate waiting? Because Indeed's US data shows that over 80% of Indeed's employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor the job. You know, one thing I love about Indeed is because of Instant Match, okay? I can relate to Instant Match because my wife calls me the Flash. I now know why. Thanks, Kyle. But, you know, I relate to Indeed with me being the Flash because they got Instant Match, baby. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in search, according to US data. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. So make sure you visit Indeed.com/lockedon and start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application price not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Okay, we back. On this episode of Locked On Canucks, my name is Kyle Bhawan. That right there is Trevor Beggs, the second best dad in the world. And this is the show that gives you that West Coast bias. A lot of Tocchet talk today. I feel like we haven't done that enough all season, and we kind of dedicated this whole episode to him. And I think the last point I'm going to make, and I usually do this, right? I go through my emotions, I put them out on the line over here, then it all starts to make sense to me at the end of the show. And I think there's like this concern that Tocchet may believe he has to do the most in order to get everything to work out here. But at the end of the day, I think it's more than important to live and die by your elite star players and not by Tyler Myers. It's just, that's the other end of the spectrum. It's like, you got the star players, and then you got Tyler Myers. Please do not play the Tyler Myers card when you're trying to teach a lesson, okay? Because we're here to win games. Anyways, again, Kyle Bhawan, that right there, my best bud in the world, Trevor Beggs. He's going to go on a long rant in a couple of minutes. But first, I got to ask you, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. I feel like last week, wasn't the best week of the 52 weeks on the calendar. But bouncing back, man. The Canucks started my week off right by winning on Saturday night, and
There you go.
we're now to the last month of the year, man. So
How'd you get through
let's
it?
finish her strong.
How'd you get through it, though? How'd you get, give me one piece of advice. Like, you had a tough week last week. Like, how'd you get through it? What you do? What you tell yourself? What your wife tell you? What your kid tell you? What happened? What you read? Tell me.
I think for me, man, it's the positive mindset. Like I live a pretty damn good life, man. So I can't, You know, it's easy to get caught up in, I think, the day-to-day negativity.
Yeah.
But, you know, when life is good overall, man, like, what are you complaining about, man? Like, look at where we live, you know?
Yeah.
We ain't dealing with wars. We ain't dealing with any of that BS. We're putting food on the table. You know, I'm spending time with my family. We were talking Canucks with you. I mean, come on, man. Life's pretty damn good.
There you go, man. The truth.
I'm going to 2 Canuck games this week. Let's go, buddy.
And one of them recovering. You're living the dream. And we've said it so many times. The truth does set you free. And more often than not, we are actually in a great position, even through dark times. And again, that will set you free. Speaking of the truth, man, oh man, Beggsy's about to go off because America, they effed up, man. They overthought this. We're going to run into it right now on Beggsy's Ballad.
All right, so Kyle pitches as a long rant. We'll see how long it actually is. But I do got to say, U.S., you screwed up, okay? You screwed up. And, you know, Hunter Brzustewicz, okay, if I'm pronouncing that right, is on pace for 112 points in the OHL. Incredible numbers for the 3rd-round pick. He's looking like he should have been a surefire 1st-round pick, and the Canucks got him in the 3rd round. But, you know, I get it. There's a lot of U.S. defensemen who are offensively inclined. You got the Lane Hudsons, the Seamus Caseys, the Zeev Buims. But to not even include Hunter Brzustewicz on the preliminary list when he was basically on every single projection to make Team USA is a damn shame. Not only that, but he's a right shot defenseman as well, okay? You know, like Zeev Buim, who I just mentioned, is a left shot defenseman. You might have even heard of some of these guys. So, again, elite offensive talents, but Hunter Brzustewicz is right up there. And he at least deserved to be on this team. And I think, you know, you ask the prospect gurus around, there's a good reason why he's not on this team. And that's because he left the U.S. National Development Program because of perceived lack of playing time and went to the OHL. So the U.S. is being petty by not even inviting him to the preliminary list for the World Juniors, man. I think it's an absolute joke. If you're running a professional organization like the U.S. National Development Program or, you know, the U.S. World Junior Roster Championship, all those decisions, make the decision based on professionalism, not because of some petty bullshit that happened a couple of years ago, okay? Hunter Brzustewicz, again, deserves to at least be on the preliminary list. I think he deserves to be at the World Juniors, and it's a damn shame that we won't see him at the World Juniors coming up here in a few weeks.
Man, oh man. This all being said, man, again, home of the West Coast bias. Even though I'm going to be more tuned into everything World Juniors this time around, and it's been the first time in a long time that would be the case, I can literally see myself on the 26th, spend some time with my father and watch that game, right? Watch the start of it all. It's going to be cool seeing, again, a lot of Canucks prospects doing their thing. Maybe 3 now only, not 4. This all being said, I hope this puts a chip on that guy's shoulder because, bro, West Coast bias, man. We I don't really care that much how he does on the international ice surface. So what? Bring that edge, bring that FU attitude, bring that I'm going to prove you wrong type of mindset to training camp next season, to the training camp after the next season, you know, to the Abbotsford Canucks. Like, bring that juice. Because I feel as if that is something that can drive a guy for a very long time. And he's already driven right now. Look what he's doing, man. So, Hunter, it's all good, man, because you a Vancouver Canuck. You ain't a Team USA American, but you a Vancouver Canuck. It's all good, baby.
Yeah, I hope Hunter Brzustewicz is cheering for Team Sweden because, you know, this guy might be playing alongside DPD in a couple of years down the road. That's a couple of years away, though. Speaking of the then and now, Kyle, we got to get out of here, okay?
Let's go.
I want to give a special shout-out to the everydayers. A shout-out as well to the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, and the new subscribers. We love each and every one of you, and your dogs too, baby. Coming up later this week, again, the Canucks got a couple of games. I'll be at the Rogers for both. One is a beer-drinking fan, one in the booth for Daily Hive. So that's coming up this week. Going to talk about those 2 games and everything else related to your Vancouver Canucks. Before we get out of here, just want to say if you want to find more of my work, you can go check out what I'm writing about over at Daily Hive in the Offside Their Sports section. If you want to hear more of Kyle, more Canucks talk, a little bit of Packers talk, a little bit of life talk, you can check out Kyle's podcast network all week with Kyle Bhawan. Kyle, if you want to plug it, KyleBhawan.com.
KyleBhawan.com. Read my book. It's still out there. I'm writing another one. One love to all the listeners. Screw my network, man. Go Canucks, go, man. Home of the West Coast bias. Locked on Canucks. We did it again. You're Canucks every day. Proud to be here. Tomorrow's a big game. Let's go.
I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.